In the world of political leaders, only one stands out. He's the man who shook the foundations of American politics, Donald Trump. From Queens to the White House, born to build empires, Donald Trump, whose success started with a $1 million loan given by his father, and now converting those loans into a net worth of $6.5 billion, has made him one of the richest people in the world. However, what's the story of Trump's success? In this video, we're going to discuss it all. While he might be known for his love of American patriotism and interests, and also for being outspoken and direct, causing many controversies, in the earlier days, he was just known as the son of Frederick Trump. Donald Trump's destiny was already fixed. He was born into a wealthy family, and money wasn't a real problem for him. He was born on June 14, 1946 in Queens, New York, to Mary Ann McLeod and Frederick Christ Trump. Trump's early life was marked by a strong work ethic and a competitive spirit, traits instilled in him by his father. He studied at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, graduating in May 1968 with a Bachelor of Science in Economics, and in 1972, he was classified unfit for military service due to bone spurs, permanently disqualifying him. Later on, he worked summers in his father's real estate business and showed a keen eye for deal-making. After college, Trump joined his father's company and quickly made a name for himself as a shrewd and ambitious young developer. Amidst all the work done by Trump was rewarded highly because of his hard work, which later helped him create his empire. Frederick Trump was deemed to make his children's lives easier, where he began a campaign of funneling money to his children when he was just 40. His father had a contract where the trust would receive over $600,000 a year for the next decade, creating a steady income for Donald, who at the time was 3 years old. After graduating college in 1968, Donald started to go to work with his father, and that's where the money transfer kicked in. In search of new investments, the father and son secured a partnership of an $8 million loan to build Prospect Tower, even though most of the work was done by his father, but Donald took almost all the profits. He was getting paid over $300,000 per year from that building, and by the time Donald was 29, he was already pocketing almost $9 million from his father. Furthermore, at that time, Donald was the president of the Trump Organization, where he was pocketing a hefty amount of salary, but also receiving loans from Fred constantly. In 1979, Donald received loans for a total of $3 million from his father's companies. Even though these loans and many more came flooding in, he wanted something that was done by himself and not given by his father. And what were those? That's where he began his first project in Manhattan, converting the Commodore Hotel into the Grand Hyatt between 1979 and 1980. Other loans would also flood in when he was building the Trump Tower between 1980 and 1983. And in 1988, he bought the Plaza Hotel for over $400 million. It was unprofitable, and Trump paid Holiday $70 million to take sole control, and a year later spent over $350 million on Eastern Airlines, which he named the Trump Shuttle. But the most famous of all is Donald's entry into the casino business in Atlantic City. In 1985, Trump bought the unopened Atlantic City Hilton Hotel and renamed it Trump Castle. Both casinos filed for bankruptcy protection in 1992. After that, he bought a third Atlantic City venue in 1988, the Trump Taj Mahal. It was financed with $675 million in junk bonds and completed for $1.1 billion, opening in April 1990. On top of that, to reduce his $900 million of personal debt, he sold the shuttle airline, his mega yacht, the Princess, which had been leased to his casinos and kept docked, and other businesses. Despite these businesses, Trump was eager to expand his success by taking over some other ventures as well, like in September 1983, the purchase of the New Jersey Generals, a team in the United States Football League. But after the 1985 season, the league folded, largely due to Trump's attempt to move to a fall schedule, when it would have competed with the NFL for audience, and trying to force a merger with the NFL by bringing an antitrust suit. Not only that, Trump and his Plaza Hotel hosted several boxing matches at the Atlantic City Convention Hall, but that didn't stop him from partnering up. He wanted more yet again, something that could be generational. So he lent his name to the Tour de Trump cycling stage race, an attempt to create an American equivalent of European races, such as the Tour de France or the Giro d'Italia. Sooner or later, Trump knew that he was about to face some serious obstacles for his business, whereas he was deemed bankrupt. According to a review of state and federal court files conducted by USA Today in 2018, Trump and his businesses had been involved in more than 4,000 state and federal legal actions. His over-leveraged hotel and casino businesses in Atlantic City and New York filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection 6 times between 1991 and 2009. They continued to operate while the banks restructured debt and reduced Trump's shares in the properties. During the 1980s, more than 70 banks had lent Trump $4 billion. After his corporate bankruptcies of the early 1990s, most major banks, except Deutsche Bank, declined to lend to him. After the January 6 Capitol attack, the bank decided not to do business with him or his company in the future. Amid all this chaos, Donald Trump was persistent in becoming successful. But this time, he didn't keep his eyes on becoming wealthy. Instead, he focused on becoming more powerful, rather than just being a millionaire or a billionaire. Donald Trump's transition from a business magnate to a political leader began around 2015. When he announced his candidacy for the Republican presidential nomination. His interest in politics and his desire to be a political leader began much earlier in the late 1980s. However, the serious pursuit of political leadership started around 2011, when Trump's presidential ambitions were generally not taken seriously. But he still decided to compete with Barack Obama in the election of 2012, making his first speaking appearance at the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, in February 2011, and giving speeches in early primary states. Trump's fame and provocative statements earned him an unprecedented amount of free media coverage. Elevating his standing in the Republican primaries, he adopted the phrase truthful hyperbole, coined by his ghostwriter Tony Schwartz to describe his public speaking style. Trump announced his candidacy in June 2015. His campaign was initially not taken seriously by political analysts, but he quickly rose to the top of opinion polls. The presidency, 2017 to 2021, was a huge loss in the eyes of the people of America and was marked by significant policy changes, controversy, and polarization. He implemented a major tax overhaul, rolled back regulations, and appointed conservative Supreme Court justices. His America First approach led to trade wars, withdrawal from international agreements, and a stricter immigration stance. And his presidency was also marred by criticism for his response to Russian election interference, racial tensions, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Trump's legacy is complex, reflecting both his policy achievements and the controversy surrounding his presidency, which deepened political divisions and emboldened populist movements worldwide. Despite the criticism faced by him in the previous elections, he wasn't giving up on the presidency and decided again to go for the 2020 elections. So that's where we move on to the election of 2020, where Donald Trump began to sow doubts about the election, claiming without evidence that the election would be rigged and that the expected widespread use of mail balloting would produce massive election fraud, and later on, Biden won the election on November 3rd, defeating Donald Trump, which enlightened the people of America. Additionally, his presidency significantly boosted his business empire. His luxury properties, such as Trump Tower and Mar-a-Lago, saw increased bookings and revenue. Foreign dignitaries and lobbyists spent millions at his hotels, and his golf courses experienced a surge in membership sales. Trump's brand licensing deals also increased, with his name and image being used on various products. Moreover, his book sales skyrocketed, and he was able to command high speaking fees. According to Forbes, Trump's net worth increased by $100 million during his presidency. Despite his claims of losing billions, the increased exposure and influence from his presidency undoubtedly benefited his business ventures, raising ethical concerns about conflicts of interest and self-enrichment while in office. On November 15, 2022, Trump announced his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election, even though he lost the 2020 presidency and had a bad experience in the 2016 presidency. But here, he felt more confident and determined to become the president and defeat Biden so that his revenge would be completed. The 2024 Republican National Convention nominated Trump as their presidential candidate just after 2 days when Trump was cut on the ear by gunfire in an assassination attempt at a campaign rally in Butler Township, Pennsylvania. The assassination attempt has probably made it obvious who will become the next president of America, but who knows, there might be a twist in the tale. Let us know what you think in the comments, and subscribe for more awesome stories like this.